Hey, everyone. It's Naomi Wolf. Greetings. It's been a little while since I've read from the Geneva Bible. I think I had a good, I wouldn't say excuse, but justification. I was in Brussels with Brian, where I had been invited by MEP Christina Anderson of the Alternatives for Deutschland, the far right nationalist party. And she had invited me to present the work we did at Daily Cloud on the Pfizer papers to the European Parliament. So that was definitely a high point of my life and a very moving and important journey. And so I apologize for not having been with you for a few days, but we're picking up again with another 5-day sprint. These marathons do seem to work. 5 days on, then I take a little rest, ideally for just a day, and then I hop back on. And today we're picking up with Numbers 5 in the 1560 Geneva Bible. And of course, as I always say, the Founders Bible, the Puritans Bible, Jefferson's Bible, Shakespeare's Bible, the Bible that changed the English-speaking world, the first really pure translation into modern English, or 16th century English, quasi-modern, early modern English, directly from the Hebrew, and so much more accurate than pretty much any Bible you've probably read. No disrespect to other Bibles that are translated in other ways from other sources. But something we're finding throughout is that the Bible's King James on in English definitely elevate the role of the priest and of organized religion, and kind of dial down how totally accessible God is to the individual, which is in the original, and in the Hebrew certainly, and in the 1560 Geneva Bible. So let's get started. I never lie to you all. I hope I never lie, but when it's challenging, I say it. When it's challenging for a modern, often secular audience, I'll say so. And Numbers 5 is going to be challenging. We've just gone through some more technical chapters about how to move through the desert with all the 12 tribes of Israel, and the tent of meeting, and the holy tabernacle, and then Numbers 4, how to apportion to the different tribes, the different roles and responsibilities of carrying the various elements of the tent of meeting, the rods, the hooks, or the circles from which the curtain hangs, the curtain itself, the sacrificial table, the laver, and so on. And there's nothing very disturbing about that. Obviously, it's kind of the nuts and bolts of like logistics, right? But now Numbers 5 is tough, right? Because it's a very clear, very like sober, kind of scary set of instructions for what you do with. There's these emoticons in the chat. What you're supposed to do, what the tribe is supposed to do, what God is asking the tribe to do with a woman accused of adultery. So let's just jump right in. And I just want to kind of reassure you that even though this seems unbelievably barbaric, the Chabad interpretation that I'm going to get to by the end actually has a much gentler framework for understanding what's going on here. But it's going to remind you of something you probably studied in high school. It's going to remind you of the witch trials. I'm not kidding. And they probably influenced each other. Okay, let's just jump right in, and we'll start with the 1560 Geneva Bible. And what I'm going to do so that you can see this beautiful text is I'm going to share my screen so you can see it right there as we go through it. And let's pick up at Numbers 5. I'm going to make that a little bigger. And there we go. All right. And the subheadline, you remember these wonderful kind of Protestant subheadlines is the leprous and polluted shall be cast forth, the purging of sin, the trial of the suspect wife. And remember, those subheadlines are not in the original. They're kind of commentary. All right. And the Lord spoke unto Moshe, saying, command the children of Israel and that they put out of the host, meaning the community, every leper and everyone that has an issue, meaning like pus or kind of poisonous liquid emerging from their bodies, and whosoever is defiled by the dead. Both male and female shall you put out of the host, shall you put them, that they defile not their tents among whom I dwell. And the children of Israel did so and put them out of the host, each as the Lord had commanded Moshe, so did the children of Israel. And the Lord spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, when a man or woman shall commit any sin that men commit and transgress against the Lord, when that person shall trespass, then they shall confess their sin, which they have done, and shall restore the dommage thereof, meaning damage, with his principal, and put the fifth part of it thereto, and shall give it unto him against whom he has trespassed. So it's like a fine. But if the man have no kinsman to whom he should restore the damages, the dommage, the injury, the dommage shall be restored to the Lord for the priest's use, besides the ram of the atonement, whereby he shall make atonement for him. And every offering of all the holy things of the children of Israel, which they bring unto the priest, shall be his. And every man's hallowed things shall be his. That is, whatsoever any man gives the priest, it shall be his. And the Lord spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, if any man's wife turn to evil and commit a trespass against him, and the note in the side says, by breaking the bond of marriage and playing the harlot, they spell it right out, so that another man lie with her fleshly, and it be hid from the eyes of her husband and kept close, meaning kept secret, and yet she be defiled, and there be no witness against her, neither she taken with the manner, if he be moved with a jealous mind, so that he is jealous over his wife, meaning her husband, which is defiled, or if he have a jealous mind, so that he is jealous over his wife, which is not defiled, right? It could go either way. Then shall the man bring his wife to the priest and bring her offering with her, the 10th part of an ephah of barley meal, but he shall not pour oil upon it, nor put incense thereon, for it is an offering of jealousy, an offering for a remembrance, calling the sin to mind. And the priest shall bring her and set her before the Lord. Then the priest shall take the holy water in an earthen vessel, and of the dust that is in the floor of the tabernacle, even the priest shall take it and put it into the water. After, the priest shall set the woman before the Lord and uncover the woman's head and put the offering of the memorial in her hands. It is the jealousy offering, and the priest shall have bitter and cursed water in his hand. And the priest shall charge her by an oath. That means have her swear an oath. And say unto the woman, if no man has lion with you, neither you hast turned to uncleanness from your husband, be free from this bitter and cursed water. But if you have turned from your husband and so are defiled, and some man has lain with you beside your husband, instead of your husband, then the priest shall charge the woman with an oath of cursing, and the priest shall say unto the woman, the Lord make you to be accursed and detestable for the oath among your people, and the Lord cause your thigh to rot and your belly to swell, and that this cursed water may go into your bowels, your intestines, to cause your belly to swell and your thigh to rot. Then the woman shall answer, Amen, Amen. After, the priest shall write these curses in a book and shall blot them out with the bitter water, and shall cause the woman to drink the bitter and cursed water, and the cursed water turned into bitterness shall enter into her. Then the priest shall take the jealousy offering out of the woman's hand and shall shake the offering before the Lord and offer it upon the altar. And the priest shall take an handful of the offering for a memorial thereof and burn it upon the altar, and afterward make the woman drink the water. When he has made her drink the water, if she be defiled and has trespassed against her husband, then shall the cursed water turned into bitterness enter into her, and her belly shall swell, and her thighs shall rot, and the woman shall be accursed among her people. But if the woman be not defiled, but be clean, she shall be free and shall conceive and bear, meaning she won't be damaged by this cursed water, this bitter water, and she'll be able to conceive and bear children. This is the law of jealousy when a wife turns from her husband and is defiled, or when a man is moved with a jealous mind, being jealous over his wife, then shall he bring the woman before the Lord, and the priest shall do to her according to all this law. And the man shall be free from sin, but this woman shall bear her iniquity. Oh my God. And let's see what the side notes say. The man might accuse his wife and not be reproved, is what the side note says. And this side note says, that is, be it so as you, I can't read what that says, but I don't think it doesn't appear to be very important. It's a citation. And the other side note says, that is actually Numbers 4, so let's leave that alone. All right, so that is, be it so as you wish, and then it has citations, and then it says she wails, she shall something, the curses are written, so the water in the vessel. It's very, very difficult to read. Here you can see how difficult the English is to read. She waits the curses, which are written into the water and the vessel. Oh, that makes sense. That's how others have interpreted that the curses are written and put into the bitter water, not just written and blotted out. All right, so that's the 1560 Geneva Bible. Now let's go to the Hebrew, and I will share with you the Hebrew in just one moment. You seem to like it when I do that. I will share the screen. I'll stop that screen and I'll share the screen with the Hebrew. Bamidbar. All right. And we'll just read this. And here we go. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lomar. You know what that means. And spoke God to Moses to say. Tzav, command, et bnei Israel v'yishalchu, the children of Israel, and they shall send away min hamachane, from among the camp, kol tzarua, everyone afflicted with tzaraat, and that's a word that has come up before in, I think in Leviticus. It's like, it could be like leprosy or scrofula. V'chol zav v'chol tameh lenafish, or with a male discharge, and all those unclean through contact with the dead. Mizachar ad nekeva, from male until female. Tashlechu, send them away. El michutz lamachane, to the outside of the camp. Tishachum, send, again, lishloach, it's a repetition, to send away them. Velo yitam'u et hamachnehem, and don't, velo yitam'u, you know that word, and don't contaminate, defile, et machanehem, their camps, asher ani shochen betocham, which I am a neighbor among them. Really, shochen is settle, dwell, but it's also the same root as to be a neighbor, as I've explained to you. Ve'ya'asuchen, and they did this, Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. Yeshalchu otam, and they sent them away, el michutz lamachane, to the outside of the camp, ke'asher diber Adonai, as God spoke, el Moshe, toward Moses. Ken asu, yes they did, and you recognize that intensifier. Yes, they did it. It comes up when they do exactly what God says. Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. V'daber Adonai el Moshe lemor. You know what that means. The Lord said, spoke to Moses, saying, Daber, speak, el bnei Israel, to the children of Israel, ish o isha, man or woman, ki ye'asu mikol chatot, commits any of the sins, ha'adam, of man, lim'ol ma'al, to act treacherously, b'Adonai, and again, it's a repetition, lim'ol ma'al, it's a repetition of the same root, to act treacherously, be'Adonai, in God, literally. The ashma hanefesh, and that soul is found guilty, hahu, that guy or that girl. V'hid vado et chatatam, then they will confess their sins, asher asu, which they did. V'heshiv et ashamo, and they will, lahashiv is to return, but it's also to return something, like, I left my coat at your house, and ata hishavta li, you have returned it to me. And so it's also to think restitution. That's kind of a correct translation. V'heshiv et ashamo, make restitution for the principal amount of his guilt, berosho, the principal amount, literally the head of it. V'chamishto Yosef, and add a fifth to it, alav, on it, v'natan le'asher Hashem lo, and they should give it to him to whom, against whom he was guilty. So this is the idea of, it's kind of a big step forward in human history, because it's not exactly an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? Which we had in Leviticus, I believe. It's kind of a fine, like someone did something bad, they've got to be fined, they've got to restore the value of it. I stole your sheep, I've got to restore the value of it plus a fifth over that. V'im ein leish goel, and if the man has no kinsman, lehashiv ha'asham elav, to return the guilt payment to him. Ha'asham mushav l'Adonai, the debt which is restored to the Lord, la kohen milvad, is given to the kohen alone. El haKippurim asher yekaper bo alav. This is beside the atonement ram through which expiation is made to him. And you recognize that root Kippur, it's the same as Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, right? Yom Kippur. V'chol tchuma, and every offering, lechol kadshei b'nei Israel, of all, actually to all, but it means in context of all the holy things of the children of Israel, kadosh, that word, b'nei Israel, asher yakrivu lekohen lo yiyeh, which every offering of all the children of Israel's holy things, which is brought to the Kohen, shall be his. Ve'ish et kadashav lo, and to every man his holy things belong to him. Yiyu, what they will be to him. Ish asher yiten lakohen lo yiyeh. Whatever a man gives to the Kohen shall be his. And so I want you to pay attention to this phrasing, because it's really showing that in this worldview, it's not just the Kohanim, the priests, who have holy things, literally holinesses, right? It's just people. People have holinesses too. V'daber Adonai el Moshe lemor, and God spoke to Moshe to say, Daber, Speak, El Bnei Israel, to the children of Israel, ve'amarta alehem, and say to them, Ish ish ki tishte ishto, should any man's wife go astray, uma'ala bo ma'al, and deal treacherously with him. And I hope you hear the repetition of, ma'al, ma'ala bo ma'al, just a few sentences up. People were dealing treacherously with God in the exact same wording. So people can betray God, people can be seduced away from God, exactly the way a spouse can betray a husband or a wife. Veshachav ish ita, and lay a man with her. Shichvat zera, the lying down of seed, meaning, you can imagine the sexual act, right, that could conceive a child. Ve'ne'elam mi'enei isha, and it was literally invisible from the eyes of her husband. Venistera, and she was secluded, or she was hidden. Vihi nit ma'a, and there were no witnesses. The ed ein ba, there's no one who witnessed her. The hu lo nit pa sa, and she was not seized. Litfos is to catch. She wasn't caught. In other words, she's suspected, right? She wasn't witnessed in the act. Ve'avar alav ruach kin'ah, and there passed over him, meaning the husband, a spirit of jealousy, literally a wind of jealousy. Ve'kineh et ishto, and he became jealous of his wife. Vehu nit ma'ah, or avar alav, and she was defiled. O avar alav, or there passed over him ruach kin'ah, a spirit of jealousy. V'kineh et ishto, and he was jealous of his wife. V'hi lo nitma'a, and she was not defiled, right? She didn't make herself impure. And it's the reflexive verb, lehit ma'e, right? It's not that defilement was done to her and she was totally passive. It's that she didn't defile herself, or she did defile herself, right? She's very much an active agent in this, one way or another. Vehevi ha'ish et ishto, then the man, and the man will bring his wife, el hakohen, to the priest. Vehevi et karbana, and he'll bring her sacrifice, her offering, aleha, on her, asirat ha'efa, 1/10 of an ephah, kemach, of flour, se'orim, barley flour. Lo yitzok alav shemen, he won't pour over it oil. Velo yiten alav levona, or put frankincense on it, or literally, or give frankincense on it. Ki minchat knaot hu, because it is a meal offering, literally, of jealousies. Minchat zikaron, a meal offering of remembrance. Mizkeret on, recalling iniquity. V'hikriv ota, and he'll draw her closer. You know that verb very well, lahakriv, to closen, right? V'hikriv ota hakohen, the priest will draw her forth, ve'he'imda lifnei Adonai, and stand her before God, literally. I think it is so interesting that none of the translations, not English, not Hebrew, not from the Hebrew into English, literally say what it literally says here, which is she is being stood in front of God. Because in the Hebrew, she totally has autonomy, full possession of her soul. She is standing as a fully equal adult person before God, to account for her. Whereas in the English translations, in many iterations, she's kind of passively being dragged hither and yon by the priest, right? Velakach hakohen mayim kadoshim, and the priest will take holy water, biklei chares, in an earthen vessel, umin ha'afar asher yiyeh bakarka hamishkan, and from the dust which there will be in the floor of the Mishkan, which is the kind of holy of holies inside the tent. Yikach Kohen, the priest will take it. V'natan el hamayim, and he'll give it, literally give it toward the water, put it in the water. V'hemid hakohen et haisha, and again, that word la'amod is to stand, and the priest will stand the woman in front of the face of God, is the literal translation. Ufara et rosh haisha, and he'll expose the head of the woman, meaning uncover her hair. I agree that that's what it means. Ve'natan al kapeha et haminchat hazikaron, and she'll place into, literally into her palms, it says her hands, but into her palms, the meal offering of remembrance, minchat knaot, which is a meal offering of jealousies, who ubiyad hakohen yiyu me hamarim, and in the hand of the priest there will be the bitter waters, ha-me'arerim. Wow, the bitter curse-bearing waters. But listen to the echo in Hebrew, me hamarim ha-me'arerim. So there's lots of poetry and repetition of words in there. Me is mayim, plural, it's waters. Marim is bitter, plural, and me'arerim is curse-bearing. Ve'hishbia ota hakohen, and he'll place her under oath, or he'll make her swear an oath. Again, much more active in the Hebrew, right? She's swearing the oath in the Hebrew. She's being placed under oath in the English, which is, again, making her more passive than she is in the Hebrew. Ve'amar el haisha, and he'll say to the woman, im lo shachav ish itach, if no man lay down with you, ve'im lo satit tum'ah tachat ishech, hinake mime hamarim hame'arerim ha'ele. If no man has lain with you and you have not gone astray to become defiled in place of your husband, literally beneath your husband, then you will be absolved through these bitter waters which cause the curse. Ve'at ki satit tachat, and you, if you have gone astray under your husband, meaning under the authority of your husband, but right, v'chi nitmat v'yiten ishbach, and you have become or you have defiled yourself, and another, literally in the Hebrew, and you gave a man in you, et shchavto, his sleeping, his lying down, mi bal adei ishech, instead of your husband. And so I think that's pretty clear what that means. Vehishbia hakohen et haisha be'shvuat ha'ala, and the Kohen will adjure the woman with the oath of the curse. Ve'amar hakohen leisha, and the Kohen will say to the woman, Yiten Adonai otach le'ala, the Lord will give to you for a curse, velishvuah betoch amech, and to be an oath among your people, betet Adonai, et yarechech nofelet, your God will give your thigh to fall, like to fall away. Ve'et bitnech tzava, and your belly to swell. Uvau hamayim hame'arerim, and the waters of cursing will come, ha'ele, these, b'me'aich, to your innards. litzbot beten, causing the belly to swell, ule ulinpol yerech, and the thigh to fall, right, or rupture. Ve'amra ha'isha amen amen, and the woman will say amen amen, meaning may it be so. V'chatav et ha'alot ha'ele, and the Kohen shall write these curses, besefer u'macha el me hamarim, on a scroll. Literally, it says on a book, and he'll erase it toward the waters, toward the bitter waters. Ve'hishka et ha'isha et me hamarim, he'll give the bitter ume'arerim and curse-bearing waters to the woman, uvo ba hamayim, to drink, right? And there will come inside her the waters hame'arerim lemarim, that curse, to become bitter. V'lakach hakohen miyad ha'isha et minchat haknaot, and the Kohen will take the meal offering from the hand of the woman, the meal offering of jealousy, vehegif et hamincha, and he'll wave the meal offering lifnei Adonai, in front of the face of God, vehikriv ota, and he'll draw her closer, el hamazbech, toward the altar. That's interesting. The Hebrew, I read it as, and he'll draw her, the woman, ota, it's feminine, toward the altar, but the English says he'll bring it to the altar, meaning the meal offering. It could be read either way. Mincha, yeah, because meal offering is feminine as well. It's unclear. V'kamatz Kohen min hamincha, and the Kohen shall scoop out from the meal offering et azkarta, its reminder, vehiktir hamizbecha, and burn it upon the altar, ve'achar yishke et haisha et hamayim, and after he'll give the woman the water to drink. Vehishka et hamayim. Now in Hebrew, it isn't as violent as it is in English. Vehishka is like to give someone something to drink. It's not, as it's translated, he'll make her drink the water. There is definitely a lot of elements of force in all the English translations that aren't really there in the Hebrew. In the Hebrew, the woman is kind of taking responsibility for actively drinking the water, actively, showing that she either did or showing that she didn't or accepting that she did commit adultery. There's not this sense of torture, really, that there is in the English, which I think is really interesting. Vehishka et hamayim, and he'll give her the water to drink. Vehaita im nitma vatimol ma'al be'isha, and it shall be that if she had defiled herself and was unfaithful to her husband, ubau ba hamayim, and the waters came inside her, hame'arerim, the cursing waters, lemarim, to bitterness, ve'tzavta bitna, her belly will swell, v'nafla yarecha, and her thigh will rupture. V'haita haisha le'ala, and the woman will be a curse, b'kerev ama, in the nearness of her people, literally among her close relatives, among her people. Ve'im lo nit me'a, and if she didn't defile herself, haisha u'tehorahu, and she is pure, venikta v'nizra'a zara, she shall be exempted and will bear seed, literally will seed, right? Seed will grow in her. Zot Torat Haknaot, this is the law. You recognize that word Torah. This is the Torah. This is the law of jealousies. Asher tishte isha tachat isha venit ma'a. When a woman goes astray to someone other than her husband and defiles herself. O isha sher ta'avor alav ruach kin'ah, or a man who there has passed over upon him a spirit, a wind of jealousy, v'kinei et ishto, and he was jealous of his wife, v'hemid et ha'isha lifnei Adonai, and he stood up his wife in front of the face of God, ve'asala hakohen et kol hatorat azot, and the Cohen will do to her all of this law, ve'nika ha'ish mi'on, and the man shall be absolved of iniquity, ve'aisha hahu tisa et ona, and that woman, that wife, will carry her sin, bear her iniquity. Whew. Let's see how you guys are doing. We've got over 1,400 people listening. It always amazes me. It makes me so happy to see that these readings that I think are pretty fascinating actually are fascinating to many of you as well. Now we need to go to the Revised Standard Version. And let me see, there's a lot of comments. Oh, hey, JD Chantal. And lots of people saying a lot of things. Oh my God. So many people have such a lot to say. Lots of people are saying hi. Prayer X10 is here. Hey, Prayer X10. It was wonderful, Naomi. So very proud of you. Rose Kelleher says, well done. I think you're both talking about my presentation in the European Parliament. Thank you, friends. It was, I don't usually get nervous. I mean, I've just been doing kind of public presentations for so long, since I was 26 years old, but I was nervous presenting to 70 members of the European Parliament in, the European Parliament next to a woman I admire so much, MEP Christine Anderson. And by the way, it's now that we're talking about biblical times, MEP Anderson's party, not that you have to agree with it or not agree with it, but it's really biblical trials and biblical courage these people are showing. 7 members of Alternatives for Deutschland have died in the week or two running up to their elections in one province in Germany. 7 members, 7 candidates for office, and Alternatives for Deutschland is slated to be the number one, winner in upcoming elections. And the powers that be are doing everything they can possibly do to prevent that from happening, trying to ban the party and certainly censor them. I believe my presentation was censored, by the way. I don't know if any of you are watching from Europe or Australia or Japan. Let me know if you could even see my presentation to the European Parliament, because I think it immediately was censored, certainly in Europe. So if you've got friends in Europe, please share it, manually. We're down to that. It's such a tyrannical time. But I just think I was there when Christine Anderson and her, we were having dinner with other key members of Alternatives for Deutschland as the 7th person candidate died, in 2 weeks, which is statistically impossible. And I've never seen such brave people up close. They didn't stop. They, gave us a lovely dinner in a private dining room in the European Parliament. They, Christine Anderson was out and about with me, showing me the sights in front of the Parliament building. She didn't have security. I mean, may she live to be 120. Whether she should have security with her or not is not my call. I'm just saying all of these people carried on with their work, trying to serve the people of Germany as they saw fit, whether you agree with Alternatives for Deutschland or not. And that is just biblical level courage, right? Policies aside, I happen to think that all parties that are just trying to close borders and give people back sovereignty tend to be called right-wing white supremacist parties these days. But the point is, it was a very moving context in which I made my presentation, and a little scary. And I got the 4 S's on my airline ticket on the way back. Thank you, United. And I got taken out of the line for extra security screening. And you get the 4S's when you're a security risk. And that was after I'd made my presentation about the Pfizer papers to the European Parliament. So these things really dovetail, I think. Hi, Heidi Sampson. So Heidi Sampson is a wonderful friend of ours who is a state member of the Assembly of the State House in Maine and an herbalist. And she's taught me about the flora and fauna around our house in the Hudson Valley. And she's just an incredible leader. She teaches people how to run for office. And she's just saying, love rich content, loves when she can catch it. Let's see. It's been a while, says Matthew Spears, just joining us. And there are many comments, but I'm going to go back. Oh, so many comments. Let's see. Sandy Hardy says, does this remind anyone else of Monty Python? Sad that I never knew cultural references before pop cultural references before you know scripture, I think is what you're saying. I'm not going to mock you because a lot of us are more familiar with Monty Python than with the 1560 Geneva Bible, and it's no shame to say so. But yeah, I said before we dove into this reading that this was going to be difficult because it sounds like torture, right? And it sounds so misogynist. And I said before you all joined us, if you came in a little late, that it's going to remind you of the witch trials of the 17th and 18th centuries, really 17th centuries, when women were told, like thrown into water and told, okay, if you sink, you're clean, and if you float, you're guilty of being a witch, and we're going to burn you at the stake. Like these kind of no-win tests, right, of guilt. And I can imagine that this was pretty terrifying. What's in this bitter water that makes your thigh rupture and your belly swell? Certainly dirt, it's unclear what else it is. But wow, Sandy Hardy said something really profound. He said, it seems to me that King James didn't want to be known as a tyrant. He wanted God to be known as one. That is, I am going to second that remark. Based on our reading thus far, all of the branching off of translations from after the 1560 Geneva Bible depict God as a tyrant when he is not a tyrant in the original. And I know that those of you who have been with me on this journey know that very well. There's example after example after example. Loki's going to join the stream. He wants to sit on my lap, and I know that you all don't mind. He's one of God's creatures. Heavens knows he's probably closer. Dogs are probably closer to angels than humans are. Oh, okay. That was cosmic. And I think that, one of my missions, not that I have a mission, I'm trying to be completely agnostic or, neutral in sharing what's in these readings. But you all know, if you've come with us this far, all the way into Numbers, right, that where there's a mistranslation, it tends to really do injustices to the personality of God, who isn't tyrannical in the original. And this is a really nice comment. Christy Haywood says, I admire standing up for the truth, even if we haven't always agreed. Well, but thank you, Christy Haywood. That is what democracy and civil society is supposed to be like. And I'm going to hide that one because I don't really understand it, but thank you. I'll read up on it. And we love JD Chantel, an old friend of ours, who says, love catching the live, Naomi. The Lord has to be so pleased for all your efforts for human life, freedom, faith. I sure hope so. But all of you too, right? We're all trying. I guess that's the other real takeaway for me of these readings is that God really, in the original, doesn't demand perfection. He just wants us to try our best. Like there's so many practices up until Numbers 5 that God has given us for dealing with our guilt, and even our iniquity, right? That's what ona is, our sin, right? But it's kind of, I've explained this before, the words in Hebrew that are used for sin or iniquity or guilt or ashema are different than the Christian, post-Renaissance theological sin, right? That I just want to stress, in Christian, like post-Catholic theology, sin, there are mortal sins, there are venial sins, there are gradations of sin, and some just will send you to hell, right? And then there's like different sects in Christianity that say grace will save you or works will save you. And Christians have wrestled with that issue of sin in a million different ways. In this practice, right, this isn't really Judaism yet, because it's not rabbinical Judaism, it's too early for that. But in this walk with God that the children of Israel are engaged in, that these now 4 books of the Torah are describing, it's, how can I put it? It's much more expected, and on a scale of stupid nonsense human beings do, that God thoroughly expects and anticipates and kind of prepares the priests for, prepares the children of Israel for, and God keeps giving people a bunch of different ways to, I don't want to say expiate, but like to balance out their sin. Their stupid S that they do, right? Their nonsense, their bad decisions, their bad acts. And here you have another one. He's given us so many by now, right? And here you've got another one. You've done something bad to someone. You've done something bad to someone, right? There's none of this, only God knows. When you've done something bad to someone, right? You're supposed to be really honest with yourself. You can't just sit around. The priest is not going to absolve you just because you go confess or whatever, or even if you just go burn your goat, right? You have to go to that person and pay them back and add 1/5 of the value on top of it, because that was a really stupid, messed up thing you did, right? So I just want you to really think about the difference in, I don't want to say in mental health, but kind of, you're like, it's so much more of a human social contract. Like God knows we're going to mess up. God knows we're going to be tempted. God knows we're going to want to conceal things. And so he set out all of these ways that we can just take responsibility for it. Doesn't mean it didn't exist or it's not important, but balance it, clean it up, clean it up, and then resume your walk with God. Go back on the path. So really think about that, because to me, that's what's so revolutionary about God's approach in the Hebrew Bible compared with all the rabbinical Judaism, post-exilic rabbinical Judaism, post-Popian Catholicism, post-Reformation, Protestant sects. They all cast you as like so pathetic and unable to ever get in God's good graces again if it isn't for some, voodoo, basically, that only the priests or the rabbis, less so the rabbis, honestly, you're still responsible for yourself in Judaism, but, whoever is the gatekeeper, right? In religion, the gatekeeper is the way back to God. And sometimes there is no way back to God. I mean, how many people have felt like they've just committed sins that God can never forgive? But that God isn't saying that in the Hebrew Bible. He just isn't saying that. He's always saying, come back, come back, come back to me, come back to me, come back to me. Let's deal with it. You messed up so badly. Let's deal with it. You had sex with your best friend's wife. That was bad. Let's deal with it. You killed someone. Not good. Really bad. We're going to deal with it. I mean, he never turns his face away. It's just that simple. All right, so now let's like grapple with this ritual. I'll read you the Revised Standard Version, and then I'll go to a Chabad explanation that I quite like. But I just want to say, in the Hebrew, as I said, it's less coercive than in the English. Still coercive, right? She doesn't have a choice. She stood up in front of God and the priest, and her husband brought her there. But in the Hebrew, a couple of things. He could be wrong, right? And I don't think that really comes through in the English. In the Hebrew, there are two clear options in this scenario. Either she did it, and the spirit of jealousy that her husband is feeling is based on her really, having not just a sexual act, but a procreative sexual act with another man, right? It's very clear that it's procreative. I'm not saying it wouldn't be bad if she fooled around and, a baby, not to the point that baby could be conceived, but it's very specifically, zaroa, right? The seed, a sex act where a seed could have been put in a woman, producing a baby that's not the husband's. Either she did it or she didn't, and he's imagining it. And, this is still a patriarchal society for sure, but God is creating space in human civilization for men to be wrong. I'm not kidding. To me, that's very important, because at this point in human history, I'm not aware of any other social contract or religion in which a man can be wrong in relation to his wife. At this point, in every other society, Babylonian, Egyptian, everything going on, Canaanite, men own their wives. They own as many wives as they want. They own their children, right? They own their slaves. Well, so as coercive as this chapter sounds, it still spells out in the Hebrew, he could be wrong. And this is a way that the woman can get him off her case and show him, you're wrong. So that's really interesting, right? And the other interesting thing, which we'll get to in the Chabad explanation, is the punishment of a sin with a related punishment. But we'll get to that in the explanation, like the belly swelling with like putrefaction and the thigh rupturing is related, like it's an inversion of the sex act. The sex act is good, it feels good, but this woman who did something she should have done with another man, it's going to be kind of a negative manifestation of the sex act. But still it's tough. All right, so let's see what it sounds like in the Revised Standard Version. All right, unclean persons. And remember, these subheadlines are not in the original. The Lord said to Moses, command the people of Israel, every leper. Other subheadlines are confession and restitution, and concerning an unfaithful wife. So that's really a subheadline that makes me mad in the Revised Standard Version. It's not in the original, and it's very clear in the original that these women are either unfaithful or they're faithful, and the guy's wrong. But the Revised Standard Version just erases the faithful wife who's been falsely accused. Okay, there's no witness. So this says, and if the spirit of jealousy comes upon him and he is jealous of his wife who has defiled herself, or if the spirit of jealousy comes upon him and he's jealous of his wife though she has not defiled herself, then the man shall bring his wife to the priest, etc. That's all pretty accurate. And the priest shall bring her near and set her before the Lord. That's, again, a translation I don't like. In the Hebrew, he's not setting her before the Lord like a doll who has no agency. He's standing her up before the Lord. She is standing up before the face of God in the Hebrew, like a grown-up person. Dust that is on the floor of the tabernacle, and put it in the water, and unbind the hair of the woman's head. Well, this is interesting. They say in the English Revised Standard Version, he will unbind the hair of the woman's head. But it doesn't say that in the Hebrew, remember? He's just uncovering her head. It's implied that he's releasing her hair, but it doesn't say anything about her hair in the Hebrew. And place in her hands the cereal offering of remembrance. And in his hand, the priest shall have the water of bitterness that brings the curse. That's reasonably well translated. Then the priest shall make her take an oath. Well, again, there's coercion there that isn't in the Hebrew. Remember, in the Hebrew, it's he will oath her, like swear her in, really. And this is make her take an oath, saying, if no man has lain with you, and if you have not turned aside to uncleanness while you are under your husband's authority. I hate these people sometimes. I'm sorry. Don't strike me down with lightning, God. It doesn't say authority. It doesn't say authority in the Hebrew. It says tachat ha'ish. It says under the husband. It's implied that she's under him because he's over her, but it could also mean his protection or his responsibility. It doesn't say authority in the Hebrew. Be free from this water of bitterness that brings the curse. But if you have gone astray, though you're under your husband's authority, again, they repeat it, even though it's not there, and you have defiled yourself, and some man other than your husband is lain with you, then let the priest make the woman take the oath of the cursed and say to the woman, the Lord makes you an execration, an oath among your people. When the Lord makes your thigh fall away and your body swell, may this water that brings the curse pass into your bowels and make your body swell and your thigh fall away. And the woman shall say, Amen, Amen. Now, that is not the correct translation. In the English I just read to you, whether she's innocent or guilty, the Lord is going to make her an execration and an oath among her people and make her thigh fall away and her body swell. That's not what it says in the Hebrew. It says if. Okay, yeah, this also says if you have gone astray. All right, let's see. So I was wrong there. Then the priest shall write these curses in a book and wash them off into the water of bitterness. And he shall make the woman drink the water of bitterness that brings the curse. And the water that brings the curse shall enter into her and cause bitter pain. And the priest shall take the cereal offering, etc. And when he has made her drink the water, again, there's coercion in the English. It's not in the Hebrew. Remember, it's to give someone to drink the water in Hebrew. Then if she has defiled herself and has acted unfaithfully against her husband, the water that brings the curse shall enter into her and cause bitter pain. Her body shall swell. No, in the Hebrew, it's just her belly. Her belly shall swell. Beten. Beten is not body. Why are they making things up? It's just her body. And her thigh shall fall away. That's correct. The woman shall become an execration among her people. But if the woman has not defiled herself and is clean, then she shall be free and shall conceive children. It's not children in Hebrew, it's seed. This is the law in case of jealousy when a wife, though under her husband's authority, 3 times they insert the word authority that's not there, goes astray, defiles herself, or when the spirit of jealousy comes upon a man and he is jealous of his wife, then he shall set the woman before the Lord, and the priest shall, again, in the Hebrew, stand her up in front of the face of God, and the priest shall execute upon her all this law. I don't think that's what it says in the Hebrew. The man shall be free of iniquity, but the woman shall bear her iniquity. Let me see what this says. It doesn't say execute upon her all this law. I hate these people sometimes. It says in Hebrew, ve'asala hakohen, and he will do to her, the Kohen, the priest, all these laws. It doesn't say execute upon her. That's so weirdly, creepily sexual and sadistic. And the man shall be absolved of iniquity, and the woman shall bear her iniquity, is in the Hebrew. And that's pretty much the same in the Revised Standard Version. So I hope you all heard the license that the Revised Standard Version took with the Hebrew. Executing, like, it's so sadistic, like we're going to execute this upon her, her body will swell. No, they're doing it these laws to her. She's standing up in front of God's face. Her belly will swell. It's like a sadistic, misogynist imprecation. She's not under her husband's authority. She's tachat isha. She's under her husband, but there is no authority. It doesn't spell out what that means, except in other contexts. It means, like in other places in the Hebrew Bible, like with Joseph, he's under the authority of the Pharaoh. So it could just mean a hierarchy, right? Like she's of lesser importance in the household. But they're adding a bunch of sadism and patriarchal cruelty where it doesn't exist. Now, very quickly, because we've run to the end of our time, I do want to read to you, if I can get it, the explanation in Hebrew. Well, let's see if I can find it. Chabad Numbers 5 explanation. It was rather sweet, and let's see what it says, if we can find it. I had it called up. Torah class, there we go. So this is Numbers 5. And it is not really what I was looking for. A summary of the book of Numbers. Violence in marriage, a closer look at Numbers 5. 5:11. It's a little Torah class. Okay, let's try this. About this lesson. I'm sorry, these are all audio. What is going on in Numbers 5? Jewish knowledge base. Let's see if this is it. I'm sorry, I had it up and then I lost it. A summary of the book of Numbers. The people, man, desecrates the Shabbat. I'm sorry, I can't find it now. And I'm not going to keep you because we've run out of time. But basically, the analysis that I read before the camera started rolling from Chabad of this Numbers 5 is that this is a metaphor, right? I mean, when things are really difficult, it's often the explanation is that it's a metaphor, but that it's a metaphor for the children of Israel's relationship to God, and that even if the children of Israel commit adultery, basically, and go astray, there are always ways to come back to God, and that God will always take the children of Israel back, and even in exile, which is what the metaphor is about, right? Send her outside of the camp. She's an oath and a desecration among her people. Even if 2,000 years of exile, God doesn't forget the children of Israel, and God is always going to welcome the children of Israel back, and that it can be painful the way the testing of the bitter waters and the bowels of this woman caught in adultery or whatever is painful. But when the pain is over, she comes back. And, it doesn't say what happens to this adulterous woman in this chapter, even the one who is adulterous, after she's gone through her horrible ordeal. Presumably her husband can take her back if he wants to. She has balanced out, she's expiated her treachery. And it also points out that just like a wife or a husband, right, can commit treachery against a spouse, so we can commit treachery against God, and that we should think of our relationship with God as a marriage, that God thinks of the relationship as a marriage where we are either faithful or unfaithful. So it doesn't really explain away this ordeal or the sadism of it. But in other rabbinical commentary, which I promise I will look at and bring to you tomorrow, I promise, because this is too weird not to pursue it a little bit. There is an explanation for why the rabbis dropped this ordeal, over time. And I guess I just want you to take away that the ordeal, again, does have space for someone just being wrong, a husband just being wrong and being it's clear that it says the spirit of jealousy comes over him, a wind of jealousy comes over him, rather than he suspects his wife, he's always right, he can do whatever he wants to her. So as harsh as this ritual is, or this ordeal is, it's not as harsh as society was generally at that time. And I'll bring you more details of what became of this bitter waters ritual, and why it's so dark, right? And we'll leave it there. Let's see what J.D. Chantal says. Jesus simplified revealed faith, made it open to all, opened worship to women, that is true, elevated women, that is true. His mother got him to do his first public miracle. Her simple words, do whatever he tells you. The first miracle was changing water into wine to save the bride and groom from embarrassment. Simple things, we complicate things. Franciscan spirituality was a call back to simplicity. That's really beautiful. And I have to say, the status of women rose and rose and rose over time, even before Yeshua came on the scene in the first century CE, in occupied Palestine. Women in Judaism had a much higher status than they did in this kind of nomadic society in which they own nothing and have no role. I mean, there are women who own things and are respected in the community and are directive and are witnesses, for instance, to the women who saw Yeshua risen from the dead. The people who saw him first were all women, and they went back and told the men. That's already a much higher status for women than in this society we're reading about 1,300 years earlier. But I totally agree that Yeshua, part of the appeal of Yeshua to everybody, but especially to women and slaves, is that he created a cosmology in which women and slaves were as welcome as anyone else, prostitutes, tax collectors, everyone was equally important to him. And that was so radical at that time, that very hierarchical time. Inside Jewish society, there was hierarchy. You wouldn't eat with a prostitute or a tax collector. You wouldn't eat with a woman who wasn't your wife, right? But also in Hellenistic society, women had very little status and slaves had no status. So Yeshua turned all of that on its head, but you can also see Yeshua privileging everyone equally as, to me, and this is another theme of these readings, an extension of this whole journey, of God toward humans. And got to share that just because I don't understand it. Why did knowledge make Adam and Eve feel like dirty pigeons? Well, we did read Genesis, and it's hard to go back, but it wasn't just knowledge. It was knowledge of the fruit of the tree of good and evil. And it was knowledge that made humans like God, right? And that's what God said, they'll be like us. So I don't think it was all knowledge. It was forbidden knowledge. It was sacred knowledge that wasn't intended for humans. And God, has been very consistent throughout these books, all the way back to Genesis. You get the garden if you align with the rules God sets out. It's so clear, and this is another theme that just emerges and emerges, that we like to think that we live in a world in which our free will and our impulses can just bring us whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. There are no repercussions. It's very clear from this text, book after book after book, from the very beginning of the creation of the world, that's not the moral universe we're living in. That's not the social contract of the Creator. That the Creator has a social contract, and he's entitled to, because he's the Creator, and that we get all the blessings. We get to stay in the garden. We get, rain in season, and, wheat and vine and fruit, and to sit under our vine, and no one shall make us afraid, if we align with God's pretty reasonable guidelines and requests and commandments. So there it is. And I hope that's helpful. And I will see you tomorrow. I always forget to thank our sponsors, but I'm not going to forget this time. I'm going to thank our sponsors because our sponsors make these readings possible. Are you and your partner struggling to conceive? If you took the COVID vaccine, there is cause for concern, potentially. You're not alone. A recent study led by Danish researcher Dr. Vibeke Manneke analyzed birth data from women aged 18 to 39 over a 2-year period starting in 2021. The findings suggest a significant decrease in birth rates among vaccinated women, with data indicating a reduction in egg count by nearly 60%. Since 2021, fertility rates have significantly declined in many regions around the world. The wellness company created the 3-in-1 Ultimate Spike Detox, crafted with 100% natural ingredients designed to help your body clear harmful spike proteins, reduce inflammation, and support overall health. So Dr. McCullough approved it, a top freedom-fighting doctor who risked it all. So head to dailyclouthealth.com and use code dailyclout to get 10% off plus free shipping. I also want to tell you about Native Path and thank Native Path. Do you want to move easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a plump, hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? You should discover Native Path Collagen, made with only type 1 and 3 collagen fibers, the 2 most important types that make up 90% of the collagen in your body. It is found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut. Types 1 and 3 provide maximum benefits without the need for unnecessary fillers. Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula, no additives or artificial sweeteners, plus it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. It's flavorless. It can be absorbed easily. It mixes perfectly without clumping. It's very easy to take it. The best part, Native Path offers amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands, and that is true. I ran out of Native Path when I was traveling, and it cost like $35 to replace just a small container from other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice. Plus, they offer an 800 number for any questions about usage, recipes, ingredients, and you'll speak to a real person ready to help. So you really need to try this stuff. Brian and I swear by it. I'm getting some for my mom. She's coming to visit. And as you know, mobility is a big issue for me. So when I take my Native Path collagen, I move much more easily. I'm not in pain. When I run out, it's not good. So I personally, swear by it. So go to getnativepath.com/dailyclout and start your transformation today. That is getnativepath.com/dailyclout. So thank you to our wonderful sponsors. Lastly, you guys, go to legisector.com. We have a new tool to let you follow any state or federal bill by sector. So whether you're in real estate or insurance or healthcare or cannabis, or whether you're a nonprofit who follows family law or pro-life or abortion rights, or however you choose to term either one of those, or if you're in infrastructure, energy, 27 categories, you can see in real time what bills are unfolding, coming down the line, being executed at a state level, at a federal level, and you can even see top trending bills in each of those 27 categories. So it really lets you be ahead of your competitors in your field. And if you're just someone who invests in your home, right, as your main asset, it is so important to be able to see what's happening in that sector. Or if you're, if you have a few shares, you want to buy a few stocks, you can see what's happening, what's going to make them, explode or make them problematic. It is legal to see. It's all public record, but it's an incredible tool. We're so proud of it. And it's only $11.99 a month, which is like hundreds of dollars less than our competitors, Bloomberg or LexisNexis, for similar products. So this is part of our mission to make all US democracy usable by everyone, but this is industry specific, and I use it all the time. So I don't know what I would have done without it. So I was a broke single mom, and I took all my savings and bought, one little rental property. I would never do that again without Legisector, because now I can see, where are they building subways? Where are they putting sewage plants? You would never want to invest without this tool ever again. So go to legisector.com. Number one says, so awesome, sis. I agree, but we need you to try it. You can try it for a month for free, and then it's just $11.99 a month, but really make it a success, you guys. It's going to blow your mind. You will wonder, if you're in any kind of business or advocacy group, how you managed before you had legisector.com. All right, that's it for me. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you tomorrow, starting again in the evening. All right, take care, you guys. Bye-bye. Let's end the stream.